Yo, what is up, guys? Will here from the Fantasy Flock here with Canyon. We are bringing you our favorite year three breakouts. Now, it's a popular phrase, year three breakouts. It exists not just in the NBA and fantasy and in real life, but in the NFL as well and other fantasy sports. And really, what it has to do with is players in their third year. It's kind of a trend you see massive breakouts from their second year. A lot of it has to do with situations, right? Some of them are just rookies in their second year, the minutes increase, then heading into the third year. You get to see production be a little more consistent. Potentially the shooting percentages are a little bit better. Sometimes situations arise and, they become more consistent starters and you see this big breakout. Some examples. So if we look back to the 2019 draft class, so year three guys that were year three this past season, the biggest one is Ja Morant's monster year three. First two seasons, you saw the talent, you saw the skill, solid first 2 years in the league. And then that third year, 27.4 points from 19.1 the previous season. Still had strong rebounding and assist numbers for a guard.
Yeah, other ones we got here are Darius Garland, another prime example of scenario plus kind of a rise of talent, right? Sexton going down helped a lot, but he also was a pure shooter that needed a couple years probably in the league to find his stroke better. But yeah, Sexton being out helps in that third year, getting his wits about him in the league, becoming the star guard for that team. And then boom, year three, just everything connects for him. 22 points per game from the 17 that he averaged previously. And then another example would be like a Jordan Poole, who is on a very high octane offense, a couple years off the bench, well, all the years off the bench, but found his way into the starting role a little bit more. Again, another shooter that just found his stroke a little bit better, went from 12 points to 18.5 points in year three. So like you said, just a mix of scenario, talent, finding your stroke, and just finding more minutes, getting more comfortable with the NBA. So those are some examples there, but we can kick it right off with our examples for this year. And first one, not a surprise to many, it's Lamelo Ball. He's already a stud in year two. So we talked about guys like Ja Morant, Darius Garland. You could have a year three breakout and already kind of be pretty good in year two. And we saw LaMelo do that, around 20 points per game, 6 boards, 7 assists, already doing it all. But he's coming into a team now with no Bridges there, and that's a lot of usage that could possibly go his way. 22% usage that Bridges had last season. A lot of that will find its way to LaMelo Ball as the primary, focus of this offense. So I could see his points increasing a lot, his assists increasing as well with the addition of Mark Williams as a rim runner. But this is obviously his team, so there's only one way to go, and it's up. And so the scenario gets a little bit better. He's just going to get better as a talent as well. So we really like LaMelo Ball to keep trending upwards and be a year three breakout.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's one of those two where, like we had mentioned, we were talking about the year three breakouts, the talent there, is obvious. I think offensively too, even if he's just more aggressive, that's kind of been the big thing year one, heading into year two as well, just maybe more aggressive at the rim. Obviously he's being more aggressive shooting the ball, from three, a lot more 3-point shots. The scoring numbers could just keep increasing. And yeah, like you had mentioned, that situation could be even better. It seems like it's already LaMelo's team, but, like we had said, potentially with, the Bridges, weird situation and everything. It looks really, really promising for LaMelo Ball in that kind of year three breakout. Another popular one who I'm not as excited about as LaMelo is Anthony Edwards. I think obviously we got to see at the end of last season and just last season in general, he was, shooting more from three and shooting better from three too, especially heading into the playoffs as well. That was a more consistent part of his game. But the thing with Ant that's kind of different from LaMelo is I don't know if I really see a pathway for his, rebounding and assist numbers to, really increase. And I think that's kind of what you really want to see from Ant for a year three breakout. It's a little tough just with, the addition of Rudy Gobert and kind of what that, brings from a rebounding perspective. Ant talked, himself in the playoffs about how he wants to be a better rebounder. So, potentially, that increases, but I don't know if I see a big enough jump for that to, be a monster increase. I think it's going to have to be from the scoring front, especially if the offense is still going to, be, D'Lo running the point, potentially with, no Pepev. I know he doesn't feel like a big offensive weapon, but, he was a pretty good assist guy. So, potentially maybe there's more opportunities there with, the offense maybe running a little bit more through Ant and, maybe Cat's playing a little bit more, on the wings, on the, exterior. And, maybe some more assist opportunities for Anthony Edwards. We could see the increase there. But I think scoring is what you're looking at. And would not surprise me if he leads this team in scoring and kind of surpasses Cat in that department. So I do like Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I don't like him as much as Lamelo Ball per se either. But it's funny because if you look like, to go back to Ja again, you look at Ja in year 2 averaging 19 points. It's like, okay, is this guy going to, do even more? It's like maybe it's just scoring because he's already has a ton of assist upside. But maybe that's just Edwards this year. I'd love to see some more assist upside out of him and even rebounding. But like you said, the scenario didn't get much better for him. But just because he's averaging around 20 points per game already in year 2 doesn't mean he can't blow up like a Ja did and be, 25, 26, 27, and all of a sudden be this leading scorer for this, this really good offense. So next up, we got Tyrese Halliburton, another stud guy that we've talked about a lot. Another guy that's kind of got positioned to be the leader in his own team now with the Pacers. They bring in a lot of young guys up through the draft and just kind of awkwardly rebuilding, I guess, this team. But they got Jalen Smith, Halliburton, Ben Mathurin, and Halliburton is just the leader of this offense. He's a very high assist upside guy. Didn't shoot a ton last year, but ever since he came into Indiana from Sacramento, he was great numbers wise. I think he can shoot a lot more this season and be a lot more efficient from the field this season. So I could see his points going up a healthy amount, maybe 4, 5, 6 more points per game. The assists should just stay the same. The Pacers pass the most out of any team in the NBA, and Halliburton's one of the most gifted passers in the NBA. So rebounding upside is, not nothing to talk about as well for a guard like him. So he could easily be a 20-10 guy with good defensive upside as well. So I think Halliburton's just going to continue trending upward as well. I really like Halliburton and Ball the most out of these 3 we've mentioned so far. But yeah, this year 3, the situation, the talent, the upside in different aspects of his game, I think Halliburton's a great year 3 breakout.
Yeah, definitely. I know people will point to, and like we had mentioned, with a Ja, right? Ja was a 44, 45% field goal guy, jumped up to 49%. And that was kind of, another contributing factor to him kind of being a little otherworldly efficiency with, with his scoring at the guard spot. I think people will point to that for Halliburton a little bit too, right? That he, shot the ball really well last season. And, even if he's not able to increase upon that to increase the scoring, I think, if the efficiency doesn't increase, I think the usage can from a scoring perspective. So I think we could see better scoring numbers without him needing this big field goal percentage or 3-point percentage jump that we see from players in a year 3 breakout. So love the Halliburton pick. I really like the situation, usage, and the talent, man. Hallie's got it. So like that a lot. Next up here, we've got Tyrese Maxey. I think he's a tough guy when you talk about upside because it's James Harden, it's Joel Embiid. Those are the big monster usage guys on this team. But I think we got to see last season that, there is a scenario, and I think it's not crazy to think that Maxey outperforms Tobias Harris offensively and is just the 3rd scoring option. And we saw that a lot, especially towards the end of last season. I think people would be surprised to know that Maxey actually averaged, 0.6 around there, 0.5 to 1 point more per game with James Harden than he did without him. A lot of that has to do with Harden. The offense runs through him, yes, but, he's a great passer, great facilitator, and, he was definitely pushing Maxey to shoot the ball more. And I think we could even see more of that. That's another thing in year 3, the confidence thing, right? Your 3rd year in the NBA. I know he's playing with 2 studs, but I think the opportunity is there. And like we had said, if you're going to buy into anything, yes, you want ideal situation, right? So yes, there's monster usage guys, but the talent's there. And that's kind of one thing you want to buy in for year 3 breakouts. So I think Maxey definitely falls into that category, even if situationally, you're not thrilled about playing alongside, 2 monster usage guys.
Yeah, I think for Maxey, though, too, Harden's actually a good guy to be next to, right? Because he's such a good passer, and he also draws double teams a lot. He, gets into the paint and can kick out a lot. So Maxey can definitely benefit from a guy like Harden that's a high-usage guy alongside him, and we've already seen it happen. So, and like you said, Toby's trending downward, and I think Maxey's trending upward. And no disrespect to Toby, but it's clearly that, Maxey's the 3rd option in that offense now. Next up here, we've got Jalen Smith, another Pacer. Really like him coming over from Phoenix. I think he's got a lot of upside. We've talked about him already alongside Miles Turner. I know they might have a strange rotation at the big spot there, but I think they really like Jalen Smith. Ever since he came over from Phoenix, he put up good production for them. He's an athletic big that can stretch the floor, play defense. He's kind of just like a Miles Turner, but less fragile and younger and maybe a bit more polished at a younger age. Probably a better rebounder too, even though he's not as big. But I really like Jalen Smith. I think he can blow up this year. Stretch from the three, he can score. He can defend multiple positions. He can rebound well, and he's just, he's young. He's a high motor for them too, and he fits this timeline for this Pacers team. He can benefit from the spacing that the guards will give to him and possibly Turner as well. But Jalen Smith here is just another Indiana Pacer. It's a year 3 breakout in this young roster.
Yeah, I like Smith a lot too. A good situation too. That's another thing we talked about, right? We talked about the situation and moving over from the Suns, and we got to see a little bit of the increase, with him in the latter half of that season, playing for the Pacers. And I think heading into this year, if the minutes are as consistent as we expect them to be, really good opportunity for him for sure. Next up, we've got Trey Jones, who, talk about situation, man. DeJounte Murray leaving the Spurs, going to the Hawks, and, the guard spot kind of opens up there. And I think Trey is in a really good spot. Yes, last season, obviously, when you looked at the roster, I mean, he was a 16-minute guy. And, there's situation, talent, and opportunity is kind of the third big thing. So I think he immediately steps into a situation where he can be, a consistent starter and kind of play those starter minutes. And Pop talked about it in that interview. Nobody should bet on this team to, win the championship. Obviously, they're in rebuild mode. And I think they want to see what they have out of Trey Jones. And he's looked good in his starter opportunity games where he's played without Murray. In those games, he's been a 12-7-4 guy. And, if he's able to put up those kind of numbers, I think he's poised for a breakout for sure. And, maybe potentially we see the scoring increase a little bit. Not the greatest 3-point shooter for sure, but I think facilitation, we've seen it already. And I think if we see it across the entire season, he could put up really strong numbers and be a really strong breakout pick for a team that, feels like it's filled with potential breakouts just because of the opportunity. But I do like Trey a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot of potential breakouts on this young Spurs team, but Trey Jones feels like the best one because, not only opportunity to lead this team as a point guard, but just a high IQ and a kind of a veteran feel for such a young guy. He's a smart player. He's got a guy that Pop would love. We've already seen him in, some fewer starts without Murray. Just facilitate the ball really well, take care of the ball, play some, sound defense. He doesn't have to score a lot. He just knows his role and he does it really well. Last one here we've got is Onyeka Okongwu for the Hawks. Capella's kind of trending downwards and Okongwu is trending upwards, going from 12 minutes per game to 20 minutes per game in his second season. Looking like he could go over 20 minutes per game in his third season. Capella, second year with the Hawks last season, didn't perform great. Of course, he averaged a double-double because that's about all he does, but his minutes went down pretty significantly. And down the stretch, towards the playoffs, they gave Okongwu a lot of looks, and I think they liked what they saw out of him. So going off of more of trend here with Okongwu, he's getting a lot more minutes. He looks good. I think the Hawks trust him a lot more. Capella's trending downwards. He's getting a lot older. Neither of them can stretch the floor, but you'd rather have a more high athletic, high motor guy like Okongwu than maybe a guy like Capella. If Okongwu can see upwards of 70 games played in this season, closer to 25 minutes, I think he can be closer to a double-double guy and be the guy that the Hawks see as their franchise big besides Capella.
Yeah, definitely. And, you don't want to predict any kind of, trades, obviously those kind of speculations and everything. But, the Hawks are one of those teams that, has already made big moves. And, Collins was one of those guys who, was a part of big trade talks. And, I think, yeah, like you said, I think Okongwu was one of those guys they do like for sure. So yeah, those are our big third-year breakouts. Let us know if there's any guys you disagree with. You don't see the third-year breakout, or any guys you think we missed. There's definitely some guys who weren't on this list.
Yeah.
Maybe some guys who technically we don't think are third-year breakout guys, like Wiseman, who haven't really made it to playing their third year in the NBA. But still, let us know if there's any guys we missed from that class who you think are poised for a third-year breakout. Would love to see that in the comments.
Yep.
NBA season is upon us. We are getting preseason action already. Looking forward to chatting about that. We'll see you in the next one.